Welcome to this edition of the Boon of Wireless podcast, coming to you as always, high above the streets of northern New Jersey at ANJ Media. Yes, New Jersey. We're in the town of Berlin. We have the world's largest statue of a tooth. I'm your host, Jon Horovitz from Atrium Unlimited Consulting. Our guest today has had an extensive career in marketing, sales, and business development, ranging from startups to Fortune 100 companies. Strong in both B2B and B2C marketing and sales strategies, she has a track record of adapting quickly to new market opportunities and a knack for identifying and leveraging disruption. She has directed several multi-million-dollar marketing and sales organizations, as well as building and selling new media marketing agencies. Cat McIntosh has also developed flexible sales and marketing processes that are used by many global organizations to systematically and quickly gain traction with stakeholders and customers. Cat has an educational background in mass communications and theater and a real world business education from being a serial entrepreneur, working with business incubators and learning from highly successful mentors. Please welcome to the program, Cat McIntosh, CEO and co-founder of SkyPeak Technologies. Hi, Cat.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Great. It's so good to see you today. So you're coming to us today from Grand Junction, Colorado?
Yes, good old Colorado. It's a crazy snowstorm across the state today, which is what we love here. So it's
Well,
good.
good for you. We're at 70 degrees in New Jersey and New York today, so it's kind of crazy for us too. Anyway, well, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. I want to learn a lot about actually your company, and I know that our listeners and viewers do as well. So let's just jump in.
Sure.
Tell us about SkyPeak Technologies. I believe you started in August of 2020. How has the journey been?
Well, it's been an adventure to say the least. It's definitely just we did incorporate in August of 2020 as SkyPeak Technologies, but we've actually been working on the problem and the solution since probably August of 2018. So it's been like they say, it's been the overnight success that takes 10 to 20 years to get to. So we're still in that 6-year range. So we got a few years to go, but it's been a great adventure. And what I really find so fascinating about what we're doing and what we've done so far is how the problem presented itself to us, because it came to us from a completely different industry, from manufacturing and supply chain, to where we are now in the mobile telecommunication industry. That's been the most fascinating part of the adventure thus far.
So let's flip all the cards. What is the problem that you identified, and what has SkyPeak Technologies done to address that?
Yeah. So back in 2018, my co-founder Don McIntosh and I were working on a completely unrelated problem in manufacturing supply chain around IoT and getting all the data managed that these Internet of Things devices were churning out. And there was just this gnashing of teeth about how there was not going to be enough bandwidth for IoT data. And we're like, okay, this is teeny tiny data, plenty of bandwidth. We got this beautiful 5G network coming online all over the world. What's the problem? So we were like, okay, we need to figure out what is the problem, because it was a genuine concern. And that's when we discovered that along about this time, there was a big shift in the way the world consumes over the top streaming video content. For the longest time, it was pretty much relegated to the TV set in your home. But then more and more it started being consumed right here on the mobile device. And that was creating this new network constraint that no one saw coming. I kind of liken it to when we used to always just play our records on a stereo in the living room, right? And then now we don't, and who even has a stereo in the living room anymore? You might have a sound bar that your phone connects to. We started seeing that same phenomenon with video. The difference between video and all other data is it's a monster. It's huge, and it's been set up to be delivered to 60-inch TVs, right? So there is in the real problem of the whole thing. Big data delivered through a system, through a supply chain. We'll get back to the supply chain analogy a couple of times here. Delivered to a supply chain that's designed to send huge 4K video, right? So that's the crux of the problem. And 80%, it varies depending on where you are in the world, but 70 to 80% of the data load on wireless mobile networks today is from over the top streaming video content. And that leaves 20% for the rest of the IoT functions and everything else the network needs to do.
Mm-hmm. So you identified the problem. Uh, what was the shining moment that hit you that said, "Wow, why don't we make a business out of this and pivot," as you said, from the products that you were trying
Yeah.
to go to our fun world of mobile?
Well, we did kind of wrap up that project that we were working on. It was a fixed project, right? As we had a scope to deliver, and we got that done, and we couldn't stop thinking about this. We started working with someone who our other co-founder who has a lot of video background, and he and Don, who is our CTO, as well, started kind of like trying to figure out what was happening, right? What was currently being done about it, and what they could do differently. Is there a different way of approaching it? In the meantime, I was actually out in the market doing focus groups with a lot of our United States rural MNOs. That was kind of our first point of entry. We had a friend who worked in that space, and she was able to introduce us to a lot of the rural MNOs across the United States. So I started doing focus groups.
MNOs for our fans out there that may not know,
Yep,
those are
yep.
the carriers.
Yeah, so
Carriers.
these are the mobile network operators, and they're kind of in isolated areas across the United States. So it was a great group to work with. They all had a mutual interest to succeed, and not quite the same resources that the big carriers in the United States have. And so we were really able to dig into their frustrations and pains with the current solutions. And we discovered that while there are solutions out there, they were actually developed for a completely different type of data traffic management on the network, and not per se for managing streaming video itself. And so that created a kind of sort of management problem for them. It wasn't really addressing the true problem. And that's what we took a look at. And then the shining moment that you mentioned was, I'll never forget the day. And I'm pretty sure I've told you this story before, John, because it's just such a fun story. It's 2020. We're on the front range of Colorado, and we're pretty locked down with the COVID thing. And we're working in our loft apartment in Boulder, and I'm, over here working. Don's over there working, and then he just kind of pushes his chair back, and he stands up, and he just says to the universe, "It's got to be on the device." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so that was kind of where the whole premise came from. We realized that we needed to, in order to affect the supply chain of video delivery, right, to a mobile device, we needed to enable the device itself to ask for what it needed, what was best for it, for its size, the network that it was on, the type of plan that it's on, everything. We needed to enable that device to be smart enough to ask all the way up to the content delivery endpoint there for the size of data that would be the best for it. And that would be the best for the network, and that would be the best for the operator, and also deliver an enjoyable experience back to the user. And all this, of course, had to happen without the user lifting a finger. All they needed to do was push their YouTube app and request a video. So that's taken, the last 4 years to develop. But that was kind of how it all, that was the aha moment for us right then.
Well, it's yeah. And if Don had been in the wireless business as long as a lot of us have, he would have known that the first thing that the network engineers will say is, you're not touching my network. You are not touching my network." So yeah, that's a good epiphany to have. So before we talk about some of the things that have been successful for you, as I understand it from our past conversations, is that you're actually, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you're actually slowing down the content, slowing the speed down that gets the content to your handset.
So actually what we do is we adjust the data rate. So that's what we're doing. So there's in over the top streaming video, and I won't get too technical and use a lot of the fancy words, but there's a resolution ladder, if you will, that depending on how the video is shot and how it's been encoded and all of that, it usually runs from very, very low at 144 pixels all the way up to 4K and even higher these days. But we'll use 4K as the upper realm. So that's 4,000 pixels as opposed to 144. So there's a huge range in between there. There's lots of steps on what they call the ladder. And each of these resolutions has a data rate associated with it. And that's really what we're focused on is what's the best data rate to be delivered for this phone to get the best experience for the user while saving bandwidth, data delivery costs, energy, spectrum, the whole gamut of finite resources in the mobile, mobile content delivery supply chain. How do we best optimize that? And that's what we're doing is we're actually using that data rate to say, all right, I'm on a 5G network, and yes, you could deliver me 4K or 2K video or 1080p, big high data loads, data rates up here. But I really am a 5-inch older generation Samsung, and I need 3K video to, or excuse me, 360p video to be a great experience. And so that's what we do is we let the phone decide what it needs. We don't let throttling decide. We don't let quality of service lanes decide. We don't let the CDN decide because they're the ones that make the big bucks when they over deliver data.
Yeah.
We let the phone decide.
So if I opt into this, and I have two handsets, one with your Quora Mobile Edge platform, which we're going to talk about, one with it, one without it, to the discernible human eye, what am I seeing difference wise?
So the things that you will see, you may notice, and most people don't, because we do a lot of side-by-side testing at trade shows and things like that. And it's usually it's more of a 50-50 guess if they get which phone's being shaped, as we call it, because it's not compression, it's not throttling, it's not anything like anyone's used to. It's shaping it. Again, it's like bringing that data rate down so that it smoothly delivers video to the phone. So most people can't tell the difference. Some people may see a little difference on a side by side, but when you're just using the one phone and you're watching that video you requested, you're never going to know that you're, seeing anything but the video that you requested. The advantage, though, that people do see is a smoother streaming experience. When streaming, you're not using as much processing for lower data rates, so your battery lasts longer, your phone performs better on other background operations. If you're on an older generation network, that video is going to come through much smoother, and if at all, right? So
Right.
so those are some of the benefits that you see without really losing any user experience at all, right?
So I know that you want to talk about this. The biggest benefit I see on everything you've talked about is cost savings for the user, but more importantly, cost savings for the MVNOs that are paying the big carriers for data usage. Now, forget about offloading on the Wi-Fi. This is when they're actually using the network data. What type of, for example, savings would the average customer use? Not the heavy duty, or maybe the heavy duty streamers, but what kind of savings are you looking at for the MVNOs and end user?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, MVNOs, the mobile virtual network operators who are paying wholesale data costs to a big carrier, definitely can benefit probably right now the most because they typically are at the mercy of whatever uh, data limiting plan that their wholesale carrier has. And we've actually been able to improve wholesale carrier data compression. And I'm just using that word as a for ease of use. We can improve that even by 30% with our solution. But straight up, we're seeing anywhere from 60 to 80 or better percent data savings on video, which is huge. When you think about this being the bulk of the data delivery costs, streaming video, and then we're able to reduce that by, let's just say, average 70%. That's an amazing amount. We've got a lot of math around it, and you can see all that on our website, and we've got lots of case studies out there. But it can be hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in savings for a carrier with 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I'm going to put your math to test in a few seconds here, because looking at some of the claims that you made, which I'm sure are bona fide, I wanted to have you explain that. But let's step back for a second. On your website, um, from what I remember, you speak about three measurable benefits of using the Quora Mobile Edge platform, and
Mhm.
that was increased revenue and profitability. It was retaining subscribers, then reducing your churn, and also creating the improved customer relationships. And from what we've seen, that the fact is that 80% of data volume on the wireless networks today is from streaming video and subscriber demand for viewing on their mobile devices, as you said, and that's pushing the average monthly data usage to over 19 gigabytes a month. How do you not only address the facts like you have so far, but how do you communicate that solution that you have come up with to the MVNOs and the carriers? But are the carriers embracing you? Obviously, if you're a carrier and you've got an extensive wholesale operation, MVNO operation, and you're going to hopefully reduce their cost to the carriers by 50, 60, 70%, they can't be happy with you. But, hey, but so how do you address what you're finding through your white papers communication to the MVNOs? And what second part, how are the carriers reacting to you?
So let's start with the subscriber relationship and the MVNO. Again, there's so many different ways that we fit into the industry that we got to narrow it down here for the purposes of discussion. But with the MVNOs subscriber, this is typically someone who's, discount minded, looking for the best deal, not typically that loyal to their carrier, right? So what we're trying to do is enable the carrier to do two things. Deliver more of what they want, because in every survey that's been out in the last 3 years of subscribers, the one and the most important things to them is that they can have more streaming video content delivered to their phones. They get data plans for cheaper, and that's what they're looking for. That's really what, there's battery life and other things like that, free phones. But when you look at all of the surveys, those two things really stick out, right? The other thing that's very interesting about this is even if a subscriber says they're satisfied with their current carrier, they're very likely to churn anyway if they get a better deal from another carrier on their data plan. I mean, that's kind of like, what are you giving me here, right? So what we're doing is we're enabling those two things to kind of come together. We're enabling the subscriber to get more of what they want at a better cost while still keeping profitability up for the MVNO, which, I mean, if we can achieve all three of those things in our value proposition, which is what we do, that's a perfect scenario, right? That kind of kills the perfect storm that's causing the industry such pain right now. Overuse of data, it costing too much, and subscribers churning. So those are the boxes we need to check for MVNOs and for MNOs, quite frankly, for anyone in the industry. But so that's the good side. And then to your other point about what do the wholesale carriers think about it, they're interested, quite frankly, because they have the same problem, right? They all need to deliver all of this content, and their networks are constrained, and there's spectrum wars and all this stuff going on. So the big carriers are like up are I would like to say Quora Mobile Edge curious, a little more. Hey, we're the big carriers, we got this. We're not so worried, but what are you doing over here? So we're seeing the adoption rate with MVNOs and the ability for us to do operator test drives with them, scaled subscriber deployments. All of that's being really well, you know, accepted on the MVNO space, and we're just now starting to get a little, hey, what's going on over there from the big carriers? So.
I like to quote one of my first guests, Peter Adderton from Boost, and I give him too much press as it is, but you're welcome. Mobile X, and he made the comment on the podcast that if you aren't using enough data, the carrier tries to sell you more, and if you're using too much data, they try to slow you down. So it's a nice catch 22 there. All right, so you made a comment earlier that said savings for an operator, and this example of the MVNO. You said an operator with 100,000 devices and an average data cost of $1.50 a gig, which is, I think a little low, but let's use it as an example. They can see up to about a $600,000 a month in savings. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. Take our audience through how you slow down the data on their mobile device and then show the operator how they can realize these types of
Yeah.
savings.
So the way it works at a very very high level is when you come on to the Quora Mobile Edge solution, right? So this is kind of a hybrid solution. It's a variety of mobile apps distributed processed to the device itself, but it's centrally controlled with our enterprise console, which is a web app that's a cloud-based solution, so software as a service. So we're a bit of a hybrid solution service. When you come onto it as an operator, you're able to deploy to all your subscriber base, right? We work with you to figure out what the best way of deploying it is and getting it out there. And of course, deployment takes time, so there's a ramp up period. It's not going to just boom overnight happen. But once we get you, let's say, fully deployed to that 100,000 subscriber base, and let's say 50% of your subscriber base watches 15 minutes or more of YouTube or Netflix or whatever on their phone, then you're going to start seeing that benefit. And the beauty is an annual licensing fee covers your entire subscriber base, but then you're only paying for monthly for those subscribers that are actively streaming. So you're not, if you've got a subscriber over here who only uses their phone for text messages and voice, you're not paying the monthly fee for Quora because there's no reason for you to, right? You're not being benefited. So what we do in our math when we make this claim, because it right now is just it's a math problem. Um, we say 50% of your subscriber base is going to be watching at least 15 minutes of YouTube, for example. And therefore that will
A,
trigger
a day, a day,
a day.
a,
Well, yeah,
a
or
day.
at all,
Yeah.
at least 15
Okay.
minutes in a monthly period, right?
Okay.
And we're using this based on, we use Ericsson and Cisco's. We kind of take an average of their kind of mobility reports on how many subscribers stream. It's now 21 gigabytes a month is the average global data burn. Uh,
Wow.
Ericsson has to keep adjusting their predictions because it keeps going faster than they are even predicting. So we take that number and we divide it in half, and we say half of your subscribers are using half as much of the data that all the experts say, and half of that is video, right? And we're going to save 80% of that for you. And that's where we come up with these numbers. Again, we've got a case study that has all that math like spelled out in it. We've done it with large carriers with millions of subscribers, and we've done it for smaller ones with 100,000, 150,000. And we see that same convergence based on their operator test drives. So,
Good.
yeah.
You're not operating just in the U.S. You have customers
Yes,
globally.
we're global. We
Okay.
are
Good.
worldwide.
Good. Good. Your customer. We talked about getting some interest from the carriers, the MNOs. Uh, but is your focus on the MVNOs, or is it the end user, or is it a combination?
So at the end of the day, the most important person in the supply chain is the subscriber, right? They're the ones that are requesting the information, the data, the streaming video content. They're the ones paying the bill to the MNO or NVNO. And so we really want to make sure that they're having a seamless user experience, right? Once this is on their device or on the mobile core or wherever, however we deploy it, we also have a cellular router and fixed wireless access solutions. We can go into the cellular router on a connected car. Wherever that touch point is, once it's there, it should be I don't have to think about this again. I know I'm getting the best optimized video content for my device at that period of time, right? And for the plan that I want to be on. So from the subscriber standpoint, that user experience is what we really take to heart. And they want the things that they want. They want more streaming content, and they don't want to have to pay an arm and a leg for it. So the next most important person in this supply chain is the operator. That's our customer, right? So we want to work with them to have an easy deployment solution, figure out the best ways to use the service. We're always talking to our customers. We take a lot our customer feedback very seriously on how can we improve the service for the operator so that they can deliver better service to their subscribers. And a lot for these smaller MNOs and the MVNOs themselves, this is a lot different than they're used to, right? And that's been our biggest challenge for us is they say, oh God, this is going to be this huge lift. We just got done doing this and now we got to do this. I'm like, really, no, we're here to make it easy and seamless. It's the beauty of distribution, right? Once we get that deployment path in place, that's it. That's the lift. And then there's marketing that we can do. There's fun promotions we can do. We're working on a win back campaign that I want to roll out to small carriers across the US. So there's a lot of fun stuff that we do. And as you read in my bio, marketing and sales is my background. And we bring that to the table for all the carriers that we work with as well. So, and we work with some carriers that are huge and would, that we're learning from, but we're just having a lot of fun with this discovery of how to do something different and something that changes the industry in a meaningful way.
So I know everybody likes to pick on the big carriers, the big three we have here in the U.S. and the smaller ones as well. They're such an easy target, but they all tout that their networks have the fastest speed, and that's what customers want. But SkyPeak published a white paper not that long ago that was titled, "Guess What? No one cares about your network speeds." And I think actually, I know the person that wrote that. It's on it's on your website at skypeaktechnologies.com. How was that received by the carriers out there when you said, you know what, no one cares how fast your
So yeah, that was a fun white paper to put together for sure, and that's kind of the way we are here at SkyPeak Technologies. We're like a little band of pirates that says, you know what, you're sitting here telling everyone, the emperor's wearing this great outfit. Well, guess what? Emperor's got no clothes. But when you look at again, I'll refer back to the surveys, and there are third-party surveys that we either pay for or just get access to. Salesforce does them. They're all over the place, right? When someone outside of the industry asks what subscribers want from their carrier, it's not, oh, I want the fastest network speed. I've never seen that on there, right? Yet that's what the network provider the carriers keep touting. It's like, we've got the fastest network speeds, and you look at all of their marketing and they all have the fastest network speed. So what's the differentiator there? Well, to me, what a subscriber cares about, from what I'm seeing, is that ability for my carrier to deliver more of what I want at a really reasonable price. I don't get throttled, I don't get my spinning wheels, and I don't get slowed down. And I know that's a bad word, but I'm not afraid to use it. That's what the subscriber really wants. And that's what that paper was all about. It's like, instead of telling us what we want, why don't you really listen and give us what we want? And that's what SkyPeak is set out to enable carriers that want to do that to do.
did that article when it launched spark any interest in any of your potential customers or customers that you have with some
Actually,
direct audience?
we got a lot of people that we never talked to that
Uh-huh.
actually reached out to us or took my head of global sales phone calls for the first time. So we did get some traction off of it from that regard. And it was mostly, I think, from, well, I know carriers. It was mostly from carriers who, well, I'm not touting my network speed. That's not what I sell. How can you help me do what I do better? So
Good, good.
yeah.
Okay. You mentioned earlier 5G, and if you have a 5G device or you're getting 3G delivery, 5G was supposed to be the end all solution for all of our industry's woes. Speed, new markets, everything from telemedicine, tracking of assets, etc. And a lot of strides were made, I believe, in 5G, especially in the IoT world. But it's my view, and I hopefully I'm not alone, that for the average customer who can get 5G service and has a 5G device, the main advantage so far has been I can download a streaming movie 30 seconds faster than you can, who's on 4G. Uh, is that accurate, or do you need to educate me on
No, I think that's I think that's accurate in a way. And I wouldn't ever dare to try to educate you, John. So
Check is in the mail. Thank you.
um, but I think the biggest problem with hanging our hat on 5G is really just enabled us to deliver more that isn't necessary, right? So I like to call this the leaving the water running while you're brushing your teeth syndrome. Just because you can, and God bless the parts of the world that can't, and it's the same with 5G because not everybody has it, not everybody has 4G, right? So
Right.
why just waste it, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a resource that costs money to deliver. It is, at the end of the day, finite, and just wasting it because we can is ridiculous. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I'm trying to educate the market on is don't leave the water on while you're brushing your
Yeah.
teeth,
Yeah.
you know?
That's a great analogy. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can't share any of your clients' names, or not asking you
Not
to,
yet,
but
but no.
not yet. Uh, how has the road to your success been paved thus far? How are things going for Skype?
Yeah, so we have some early adopters who are coming on, and I'll be very honest. When you do something new and you don't really have our competitive set is like we try to find competitive sets because no one's really doing it the way we're doing it. Uh, so we don't have a competitive set to balance off of. It's a struggle, right? It's a hard. My latest video, which is in kin to no one cares about your network speeds, is all about that, right? This is an industry that's like,
Can I stream that video soon or not?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that's kind of what my latest video out on LinkedIn is about. It's like this is a market, our market, the mobile telecommunications industry has a lot of we got this attitude. But we've gotten hooked up with some really progressive early adopters that see the problem clearly. They know they either don't have a solution because they're an MVNO and they're at the mercy of their wholesaler for handling this, for being able to manage this data intensive content that they have to deliver, or they're they're small and they're being crushed by the competition and they want to fight, right? They want a solution to bring to their subscribers that gives them an edge. So between those two groups, we've been able to put together a market pretty much worldwide. It's small, but it's going to be mighty. We just had a conversation this morning that I am so excited about, and I can't wait until it's
Good.
worldwide knowledge of who we're working with. So
We will have to check back in
yeah.
with you again. So, Kat, what you're out there in the market with right now is truly unique concept, and as I understand it from our conversations, not just today but previously, is it's easily adoptable. You're not touching the carriers' networks. MVNOs can save money. So I'm interested in getting this as a consumer, but I think more importantly as an MVNO or small carrier. How do I get in touch with SkyPeak to find out
Oh,
more?
well, all you got to do is go to our website. We're easily accessible. So we're on LinkedIn. We have a website at skypeaktechnologies.com. Michael Baldwin is our head of global sales. His number's all over our website. You can always reach out to me. I'm very accessible too. I'm Cat McIntosh on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear hear what your challenges are in delivering all this data intensive content, this streaming video content. We like to call it data intensive because that's what it is. People get a little like, oh, what about TikTok videos? All that social media video amounts to less than 10% of the network load. So we're really focused on the big payload right now. We've got plans to address all video that comes across the network at some point, but right now it's that over the top streaming content that can be delivered to your phone at 1080p or higher. So that's what we're focused on. Every carrier in the world's got to deliver it. And if they can't deliver it, they want to deliver it. That's one thing we haven't talked about is in areas where there's legacy networks, 3Gs, we improve that amazingly. I mean, it's a game changer for phones connecting to a 3G network wanting video. And that's a big passion for me too, is to bring more connectivity and content to parts of the world that don't have these 5G, 4G networks, right? So,
Cat, this has been a great educational session for me, and I hope that our listeners and viewers think that as well. I mean, you're saving me money, whether I'm a end user. You're saving me money if I'm a MVNO operation. Well, leave us with some buzzwords that'll
yeah.
keep SkyPeak Technologies at the forefront.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing I'd like for everyone to take away from this conversation, John, is sometimes the best solution ends up being the easiest solution, right? Not necessarily the biggest, most expensive take up network, only the big guys can have it. Sometimes it's a democratized solution that everybody can have, right? And the best part about that is because it is ubiquitous and everyone can benefit from this, we can affect accessibility to the internet. We can affect sustainability of our resources without, a lot of gnashing of teeth, right? We just need people to say, give it a try, right? Come on, give it a shot. You can try Quora Mobile Edge as an operator for nothing. We can get you started, we can get you out there. And for me, and why I get up every morning, my why is to really make an impact on an industry that has the power of communication worldwide in its hands. Literally 8.3 plus billion of these in the hands of everyone worldwide is a huge boon to the world. I'll use your word, So that's what I want everyone to be left with and to think about is
Good.
this doesn't have to come from on high. Sometimes the best
Yep.
solution is just kind of show up and people need to pay
Yep.
attention.
And bubble up. It's better to have ideas that bubble up than get pressed down on you. So good. Cat McIntosh, CEO and co-founder of SkyPeak Technologies. Thank you so much for coming on the program, and I'll continue to watch for new developments and new announcements from you guys. Congratulations on creating uh, not an industry, but creating something that's going to benefit. I think all parts of the
Yeah.
industry. So thanks a lot
Thank
so
you, John.
much, and we'll talk to you soon. And that will wrap up another edition of the Boon of Wireless podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks.